Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day. Jennifer is grateful for the opportunity to educate, empower, and inspire you with powerful conversations, insights, and new viewpoints. Here's your host, Jennifer J. Hammond.
About helping veterans, and I'm super excited about our next guest because boy, he has dedicated himself to helping veterans back here on the home front. So first of all, let me introduce you to Sergeant Major Baylis. He served over 26 years of active duty, and he is so passionate about what his mission is now back on the home front. And so I would love, first of all, let me welcome you to the show. Yay!
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you. So you have, it's a nonprofit, right?
Yes, ma'am. We founded it in 2012, helping struggling veterans. We started out mostly with homeless veterans, and now we have adult counseling programs and food bank kind of programs, and run a homeless shelter. And it's been a calling.
So it is, I find that is true of, well, most nonprofits, but especially nonprofits that help veteran. It is a calling, it's a mission in life, and it's a huge purpose. And it honestly, it actually saves lives. So first of all, let's tell people it's called VALOR, right?
Yes, ma'am. VALOR Clinic Foundation, but most people just call us VALOR. The website is VALOR Clinic, Facebook keywords, VALOR Clinic, but that's how people know us, VALOR.
Perfect. So let's talk about your homeless program, because of course, you know, my real estate and homes are so near and dear to my heart. And I'm always passionate about making sure everybody has a home, because it breaks my heart every time. In Washington, D.C., we see a lot of homeless veterans, and it breaks my heart, every single one. So let's talk about your program. What does it do?
Well, it has three main components. We do homeless outreach in the street for homeless veterans, and try to encourage them to come into our shelter or connect them into rapid rehousing programs. We run our we call it a homeless veteran sanctuary, but we bought an old hotel, and we do programs to help them get their lives managed better. I got something caught in my throat there.
Oh no! It always happens right at the wrong time.
We can house about 12 veterans at a time there. And then regionally in this part of Pennsylvania in particular, if you take a homeless veteran off the street and put them in an apartment, they still have what they had when they were in the street unless somebody provides it. And we furnish and outfit the kitchens and things of apartments for homeless veterans coming off the street.
That's a really big
out of our homeless shelter as a referral agency for some of the other places helping homeless vets in this part of Pennsylvania.
So will you share a story about that? Because one thing I know, I remember I've heard a lot of stories about what you just said. You just said it so fast, I think could easily be missed, is that, you know, you might find a home, but then they don't have any furniture.
Yeah, no furniture, blankets. And, you know, we did a family up toward Milford, not awful long ago. I'm going to leave names out completely, but they had 12-year-old twin daughters, and they lived in a van for a very long time. And once they finally got housed, all their stuff was on the floor. And I remember our team coming in from giving them dressers, of all things, dressers, right? But the two girls were crying their eyes out because they finally had someplace to put their clothes. They weren't living in a van anymore. Their stuff wasn't scattered all over the floor. And all of a sudden they felt like they were back living normal again. It was, there can be some emotional stories. We have quite a few of them. Sometimes they involve family conflict, puts them out there. Sometimes just bad luck. We had a young Army veteran just in the last 2 weeks move out of our homeless shelter.
So you had the guy who you said was in your homeless shelter, and then what happened to him?
Well, he had been in his car for several months first, and he very much wanted to get his life and affairs in order. We have him in there. and we provide him a safe place to sleep, a place to shower, 3 meals a day, and he finds himself a job quickly now that he's more presentable. Goes to work, saves every penny he makes because he's motivated to be able to have time with his daughter again that he wasn't allowed to have because he was living in a car. And in 8 short weeks or so, he completely changed his whole life. He's in an apartment set up, spending time with his daughter again. And sometimes just a little bit of outreach can make all the difference in the world. He was an Army vet, ended up with a job as a car salesman and was hustling, moving some vehicles. And his whole life turned around.
And sometimes it's also one of the reasons that I can't do enough shows that or talk about programs that help veterans is because I think often it's a matter of also realizing that there are people who care and that somebody does want to help you, because so often they feel so isolated and that nobody wants to help them. And yet if they're given an opportunity, I mean, I think that we so often, we root for the underdog, but we also, every one of us have fallen down at some point in life and we need help. And I know it's hard to ask for help, but knowing that people are anxiously ready and willing to help is so important. And your organization is definitely there. And so I'm so grateful. So you talked about some of your programs, and I know you kind of went fast. So I want to go back. First, you have a program to help people. You talked about rapid rehousing. Will you talk about what is that process look like for somebody?
There are mostly veterans, Department of Veterans Affairs programs, where some of the local agencies have supportive funds from the Department of Veterans Affairs to pay for apartments. And so sometimes what we do is connect the people with grant money for apartments and a veteran that's not a good fit for coming to our shelter so that they can go quickly from the street into normal house. The objective for everyone is to get them housed and succeed so they stay that way. And some of them are in different periods. If you got them housed, they would have no means to support themselves and be right back in the street. And the revolving door is what you have to figure out when to apply one resource versus another. Because once you get them housed, we want to stay that way, right? We don't want them back in the street. And so work conditions or whatever form of income it is matters. And sometimes they need to spend some time with us while they get put in a supportive net under themselves where they can self-sustain. And sometimes they're in a position where permanent supportive housing, where the VA in partnership with HUD do some things longer term. And the truth changes with them all. We have to figure out the right response for them. And when there's other agencies that provide the resource we don't have, that's what we do. We network them there. So
that is one of the blessings, I think, is the more that we can figure out how to work together. You know, if you have the resources, wonderful, but if it's available somewhere else, it's also very much about putting the puzzle pieces together, because there's nobody who can do everything, right?
No, there's not. And not all agencies are willing to do that, because sometimes it's advantageous for the homeless veteran to spend some time in what some people call transitional housing. Okay, you're out of the street, you're safe, you have healthy food, you have a safe place to sleep, showers, basic needs are met, while you get your own affairs in order. And rapid rehousing is not always the best answer. Some agencies will do rapid rehousing even when it's not the best answer, because that's the only tool they have. And so it's an interesting dynamic as everybody wrestles for the best way to figure out a national problem that. And we are fortunate that our recidivism rate, the revolving door I talked about, is very low. We only have 4 back on the street after 7 years.
That's a really low number.
Yes, it is, and we're proud of that. But part of what we do is one of the conflict points is veterans see the world different than civilians. Yeah. And if they come out and try to deal with people at expectations of other service members, a lot of times that causes a lot of social conflict. It makes it hard for them to reintegrate. And so part of what we do is help them learn to see the world and the way civilians see it, so that they can bring their good qualities to bear in relationships without creating conflict. And because they have a lot of great qualities, veterans, they don't always apply them well to others. And so we try to help manage. We try to help them learn to manage, pick and choose when they get real passionate about a topic and choose to be arguing on a topic that maybe in the civilian world isn't important enough to create conflict about. And they do very well when they learn to understand civilians.
Yeah, and I think that transition, to me, it's like a lost in translation thing, because the skills that you have, a lot of times, if you've been using them in one particular environment, like inside the military, and then you transition out, and here's the other T word, that lost in translation. It's the words, it's how it applies in that situation.
I am buying you coffee. I like the way you talk.
Well, and I was going to say, I wanted to also, now we're kind of going in backwards and reverse, because thank God, I think I've learned, I really like talking about the solutions and the happy ending, so to speak, but I do want to go backwards a little bit so that anyone who's listening also could really identify with the why. Why does it happen? Why do veterans become homeless? I'm still astonished when I get this question that people don't know, but I think it's just because I've been in this volunteering and doing radio shows and podcasts and such for so many years about it. But will you talk a little bit about why is it?
I have my perspective with the veteran's eye, dealing with recurring behavior patterns of the veterans that we work with. That's it. I can't talk to a study for these things, but I can talk to you my experience. And my experiences are that emotional scars affect behavior, and social norms, civilian versus military, are starkly different, and the effects emotional scars have on behavior, the way people interact with other people, combined with those social differences, creates amount of conflict. And the divorce rates are double for veterans. So if your family is falling apart, that's a first step to and toward the homeless problem. And the next piece is the similar conflicts happen with their coworkers at work. They get fired a lot, and if you have no job and no family, very soon you're homeless. That is problem one combination. And problem two is families love their own. That's a great thing. And very often when young service members in particular, and in this case, I'm referencing mostly toward the Vietnam War and Vietnam vets, the families don't understand when they came home different. All those social conflict things are going. The veterans have a tendency, when those two first things I talked about, to start self-medicating, to ease their frustration with that nothing's going well relationship-wise. And the families have a tendency to scoop them up and put them in the same room they had when they were 18. And sometimes I give that backdrop because when the families age and can no longer support a child now in their 50s, and the family collapse, go to nursing home or whatever the thing happens, pass away, they've been helped too long, and now they're at a point in their life where it's much harder to recover them back to self-sustaining, and they hit the street when the family safety net collapses. Are the two main ones I see. Although there are bad luck stories, like I mentioned earlier, and lack of opportunity stories where, hey, there were just no jobs, and I was trying, and it just petered out. Those stories are real, but the two that are the most epidemic to be a result of service are the first two I talked to. The others are why normal Americans end up homeless, right? There are mental health problems in the homeless population. There are substance abuse problems in the homeless population that contribute, and veterans are not absent from those. But the two that seem to be veteran unique to me are the social conflict piece and the when the family protects them because of the social conflict, and then the family falls apart.
And so your nonprofit, you decided to create this nonprofit, and you have 4 main programs. Will you go over those 4 programs again?
Yep. The main one is the Hope for the Homeless one that we talked about, where we do outreach, stand downs, run the homeless shelter. We are renovating a second homeless shelter in Ohio as we speak, if anybody wants to volunteer in Ohio, and do the furnishings. We are doing the homeless outreach stuff in Ohio already besides the shelter. Our second one is our Veterans Unstoppable program. It's a combination of learning to manage the emotional scars effects on your behavior and managing conflict points to avoid the conflict of social norms from service to civilian. And one of the other problems veterans struggle with when they come home is a lack of purpose and direction. Yeah. They went from feeling like I'm the guardian of freedom to now I'm out here where people think all I can do is push a broom. Right. And they're having a lot of social conflict at the same time. It makes a mess. One of the things we do is we have them make a 10-part life plan with 3 goals in each of the 10 sections and 3 tasks to work toward accomplishing each of those goals.
I love that.
And when they get out and they do some, all right, I got a purpose again, a direction. I'm working on me and getting my life in order. They do really well. And we do that program mobile in North Georgia outside the Mountain Ranger Training Camp. We do it local here in Pennsylvania. We did our first one outside of Fort Campbell recently. That is an amazing program for outcomes for life change. A lot of the homeless vets in our shelter, we make them go through it as part of getting their lives together again. Our next one is what we call the holiday meals. It's like a modified version of Meals on Wheels. We go to financially struggling veterans who are housed. Very often they're previous participants in our homeless programs. And make sure they don't have to pick between paying the daughter's dentist bill or celebrating a holiday. And that's important because when we deploy for conflict, our enemies know when our holidays are and they attack on our holidays. So there's a lot of emotional scar memories about the holidays and that they didn't get to celebrate them on top of it while people were trying to kill them or significant days. And so we provide all the food they're going to need for a family of 3 and a visiting family of 3, so they could have company from breakfast, eggs and bacon, through a turkey dinner at night and dessert. And for 6 people, 3.5 meals each, it's like 21 meals with a turkey dinner. And we do about 300 families holiday at the most recent holidays. It's gone up every time since we started. But that is a huge resource intensive program, and our volunteers love it. We get the most volunteer participation because we deliver it to the doorstep, and we do it like a child high school game, ding dong dash. We go up, put it on the step. People nominate the veterans they think need it. We keep track of the ones we help and automatically nominate them. But ring the doorbell, leave the food, and run. So when they come outside, instead of finding something trickery, they get Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas or whatever their holiday is. And so that's a really fun program. And our last one is I am an accredited claims agent with the VA. So I do benefits applications for healthcare or service illness with the VA. We do a few a year Social Security disability applications and a few food stamp kind of programs with this applications with the state. But those are the 4. We call the application one Resilient Warrior, Holiday Meals, Veterans Unstoppable, and Hope for the Homeless.
So go ahead and tell people again, what is the website? How can they find you?
ValorClinic.org and www.valorclinic.org. And the keyword to follow us on Facebook, a lot of our event stuff is on Facebook and things, is Valor Clinic. And our next growth milestone is we're building a campus to do the Veterans Unstoppable program in Northern Carbon County. And we do outdoor activities like fishing and archery stuff out there. It's kind of a rural, quiet setting. Hey, get away. We call it conflict interrupters. If you're going to have a conflict and you feel it coming on, don't take it to where you're angry and yelling. Stop, go grab your fly rod, go find some water. When you calm down and rethought about it, go reapproach it, because there is a learning curve through that social conflict interruption. And if there are any veterans out there that want to come to our next Veterans Unstoppable class, it starts, I think, the 13th of July, but they can reach out to us and it's free. Every service we provide is free to the veterans.
Yay!
Yeah. And, or if they want to fly fish at a group event with us where we have instructors and everything, we next do that on the 12th of September. They're welcome to come. We welcome. The food will be free. The fishing will be on we have 3,000 feet of Class A trout water right on going through our place. And anyway, we love to get veterans involved, and we appreciate you give us the opportunity.
Well, and I was gonna say, thank you so much for all you do.